Welcome to the Best You podcast, where we explore the journey of inner peace, harmony, and joy that comes from living authentically. Every week, we will dive into transformative conversations that describe both the way you can create behavioral change for yourself and how to create the conditions that promote peace, harmony, and joy around you. Whether you're seeking balance, deeper relationships, or a spark of inspiration, you're in the right place. Welcome back to The Best You. Today, Scott and I are going to be talking about dealing with uncertainty and disorientation. I just felt that this was really a timely topic. I don't know about Scott, but I've had periods in my life where I've just felt greatly disoriented. And I feel like an overblown sense of confidence was one of the ways that I coped with it. I was, for years, a perfectionist and control freak. I can still go there if I'm to be completely honest. And when I look back on it, that was just really the formula for a lot of anxiety and craziness. And we're going to unpack that a little bit, but I feel like in modern times, especially right now when there is so much change happening so quickly, whether you think it's good change or bad change, it's just making a lot of us feel so disoriented, like which way is up and what does the future hold and what can we depend on? I feel like it's just creating a lot of turmoil in our lives and in our psyches right now. What do you say, Scott?
Yeah, this is it seems like a very chaotic time. Uh, Everything from politics to social media to, even the weather with tornadoes and fires. And I mean, there's just so many things I think are really cause anxiety. The economy, people's jobs. There's just so many things. And the question is, how do you want to feel about them? When there is no guarantees, there is no certainty about anything. Um, can you get oriented, and can you feel good?
Yeah, yes. And I also feel it's important to honor, how that makes us feel on the inside, that we might have grief and confusion and anxiety and depression, and that we allow ourselves to feel those and allow those feelings that we hold the space to allow ourselves to feel it and to release them. Because if we suppress them, then that just manifests as stress related illnesses and such. And that's really unhealthy. But I feel like we sort of set ourselves up, Scott, for this because I know you and have both been in these professional fields where we are valued for our expertise. And we were taught at a very young age the value of education and studying and books and knowledge. And I don't mean to minimize that here, but I feel like the downside of that has been that it's not necessarily been balanced with the humility of saying, I don't know. And for me, it was really a compensation and defense mechanism because feeling like I didn't know or saying I didn't know just made me feel too vulnerable and unacceptable, unsafe. And so I doubled down on the opposite, which actually created more problems than it solved because I would forge forward in a certain direction, which may not be right. And I would insist other people go along with me. And it was really terrible for so many parts of my life. And I actually just find it so much easier now to just say, my thought about this is X, but I don't really know. And like, I don't have to be the expert on anything. And it's just easier and more peaceful. And it gives me the opportunity to be more open to what might be a more adaptive or helpful perspective or pathway or opportunity, that maybe this problem actually has an opportunity if I would just be open enough.
It's interesting. I think a lot of people are unaware that when they think they're right about everything, they may think that that's causing certainty in their life because they're certain about everything. And what it actually I think does is it creates even more uncertainty because um, they're not aware of all the things that are really going on around it, and they're not open in their mind to things and how they can work better with them. And we've talked about this before. I think there's just a lot of people who are just unaware that there's other ways to live with your life. And again, I think they've been taught from a young age that you better know the answer. You better be you better. It's like a safety thing. It's like protection. It's like you better know. You better be right. And so there are some people who just feel like that is the only way to survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm living proof of that. Um, and then just like as you said, like if you're sure about a certain thing, um, there's a good chance that you're wrong, and then you're not adapting to the situation and the facts or the evidence or the opportunities as they come in. So there's a cognitive bias and error or a heuristic called confirmation bias. So you might have heard of it, but it's this habit that we have to notice the things that affirm our belief or our position and to ignore refuting evidence. And so this is probably one of the mainstays of certainty. Um, and we're just doubling down on what might be a point of view that is not very constructive or helpful. Um, the opposite can also be a problem, Scott, because if we're um, too open to all of the issues, we might have analysis paralysis. So what we're not saying is to go to the opposite extreme and do the Sanna of, oh, I don't know anything, you know. I mean, I do that, but I also still evaluate the circumstances and the situation and the evidence and make a choice in moving forward, knowing that I might have to change course or adjust. So it's finding that balance instead of the all or nothing, right or wrong, being in between, being open to the situation as it unfolds.
I think that there's a way to be open-minded without analysis paralysis. And I think open-minded to me is simply um, listening to other people. It may be doing some research, but it's just simply just recognizing that in any situation, there could be another way, there could be a better way, and not being closed out to that.
Yeah. It can be a little scary because feeling certain about something, at least personally, felt easier because I didn't have to deal with nuance. I didn't have to deal with asking you what you think or what you believe or how does this affect you. I could just go about my way with blinders on and not pay attention. So in a way, it was easier. I would just say that the fallout in the end um, makes that approach to me pretty short-sighted. And in hindsight, I would have wished that I had been more open because it can create fallout that can be unpleasant. So some of the tips that I um, adopted over the years or the practices is first of all being present. So notice when I'm being reactive and in certainty instead of being in openness. And like Scott often talks about in some of these videos is seeing what's within my control. How am I contributing to this? What can I do? So in other words, what is my locus of control, and not forcing my beliefs or opinions on other people or things that are outside of what I can control and do.
I think
Something
that's
else.
good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other thing about it is that if you dwell on uncertainty too much, it can be disorienting, and it can be, can cause you a lot of anxiety, can cause you to have health issues. And so I think that's one of the things that we wanted to help people with today is, embracing uncertainty. I mean, no matter what in this planet, there's a gazillion things that are going on around us. And each of them is, we either don't understand it or we don't know what's going to happen with it. And that's okay. Um, you know, the question is, what can you control? And this is where, we talk a lot about peace, harmony, and joy. Can you get yourself calm? If you start thinking about all the political things and all the things with the economy, and start reading social media and all stuff in the news, I mean, all this stuff can make you just your head swirl. The question is, can you get yourself in a calm place? And it could be, can you do a nature walk, or can you meditate, or can you do breath work, or can you do yoga? But somehow calm down. And then when you do, just think about the things that you need to think about in a constructive way. And what's interesting is, when you think about it from a place of what I can control, it's interesting because there's a gazillion things going on around us that you can't control. And you really, you can't worry. You maybe want to be aware of them. And if there's a tornado coming your way, you may want to hide in your basement. But there's so many things that that are going on, and for most part, you don't really need to worry about them. But the question is, what do you need to know about, and what can you control? And when you're calm and you're controlling these things, and feeling good about them, and really truly just in it with yourself, saying, hey, I'm good. I don't know everything, but I'm good. You can find yourself having, joyful experiences. You can feel good about not knowing everything, because what you do know is good enough. And what you can control, you know you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah, and that's all you can do anyway. So I really like that, embrace the uncertainty. And I will just add a corollary to that, about being optimistic, that, believing that good things can happen when things change. And you probably heard stories about this where people thought like getting laid off or not getting a promotion was the worst thing that ever happened to them, when afterwards to realize that it was such a blessing in disguise. And my dad once told me a story about that. Like, he was raised in China, and it was super competitive to get into schools. And so he didn't get into his first choice school. He got into his second choice school, which was in Taiwan. And during that period of time, that's when the Mao government took over. And if he had gotten to his first choice school on the mainland, he would have been trapped in communist China. So you just never know, what the change will bring. And if you're embrace that change and the uncertainty, and even believe that it can lead to better things, then you're more likely to find that better thing. And the thing that I had written down for this discussion was also imagining the worst case scenario, because we might just be in fear of the worst case scenario without actually articulating it. And if we can articulate it and write it down and start to plan for the worst case scenario, we might realize, oh, I can completely deal with this, and there might even be some upsides to it. So another example is, worrying that you're going to lose your job. Well, maybe it's better for you to go find a new job, for example. I don't know. So, but when we're open to embracing that uncertainty, we can make the most out of it instead of just, sort of manifest our belief about the worst of it happening.
I think that's huge, by the way. I think so many times the worst case scenario isn't so terrible. I mean,
That's right.
but it's just people just like to worry that everything's not going to go perfect. And the truth of the matter is, things don't need to go perfect for you to live a joyful life. And when you worry about things, you are almost guaranteed not going to have much joy in your life.
Yeah, that's for sure. At least not some peace if you're worrying all the time. And I feel like uncertainty also gives us the chance to really revisit what matters the most to us. And this takes that being present and being mindful, but clearing the chatter in our heads and feeling deeply in our hearts, like what matters most to us in this moment. And I feel like regrounding ourselves in that when there's so much uncertainty can give a sense of stability to our life. For me, it might be, well, I have my family, I have my home, I have my good health. Those are, I always have earth no matter what happens. So, regrounding in what matters most and letting go of some of the details that we can't control, that we can't even understand, just helps me feel calmer and go back into my gratitude and sense of peace and joy.
Yeah, that's such a biggie. That again, there's always going to be uncertainty, but I'll tell you, Sana said it well. When you can really focus on the things that are near and dear to you, and it's it's like your family. I mean, if all this stuff could be going on around the world, but are you got your family? You got your relationships. Are they healthy? Do you have your own health? I mean, those are those should be the priorities. Those should be the things that give you confidence that everything is okay. And you know, all this other stuff could be going on, but it's like, but if you got your family, everybody's healthy, like that you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I have to admit, Scott, there were moments where I wasn't sure all that was true. I had gotten a couple of scary health tests or health diagnostic tests back, two of them, both at the same time, and I didn't know if I was going to be okay. There was a concern that I really wouldn't be, but what I could return to was to say, in this moment, I'm okay. In this moment, I'm fine. In this moment, I'm not bleeding out. The house isn't on fire, and I'm okay. So we can always return to the present moment and find our gratitude if really it feels like the world is coming to an end around us.
Yeah, and your health and your family's health. I mean, that's the priority. And I can only imagine what anybody's feeling like when there's health issues. I mean, that's the probably some of the hardest uncertainty there is. But I like what Sana said. I mean, even when you're uncertain about health issues, um, there are ways to still feel okay in the moment, and just trust whatever's going to happen is going to happen. You're going to follow doctor's instructions. You're going to do the best you can. Um, but even with health issues, you can still find certainty in the way that you handle them.
Yeah. And even a deeper gratitude for what we do have. So I know that a lot of people who have faced really serious health issues describe a renewed sense of meaning and purpose to the life they do have. That we don't take our health and longevity for granted. That every day is precious, and having brushes with critical illnesses or circumstances helps us to remember to stay grateful.
Yeah, that'll give you some perspective on it.
For sure. So, what I wish for everybody is finding a sense of orientation and grounding during times of uncertainty, chaos, and great change. And I hope that everybody leans into this opportunity to build that resilience and those practices within our lives so that no matter what's happening, we can feel okay, at least if nothing else, in this very moment.
And realize that you do have the ability to control how you feel. Can't control all the things going on around you, but you can truly get your mind in a place where it's calm, where it's in tune with what you enjoy and and what you love, and you can really enjoy those moments. And I think that's really the key here. Your mind is powerful, and we encourage you to use it.
Thanks for joining us today, and make sure to check out our websites for more resources.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Best You podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked some new ways for you to cultivate your inner peace, connect meaningfully with others, and embrace the joy of living in harmony. Remember, being the best version of yourself isn't a destination. It's a daily practice of growth, reflection, and kindness to yourself and those around you. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it for you to subscribe, share it with somebody who'd benefit, and leave a review to help us spread the message of peace and joy. Stay connected, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time on The Best You.